Hey everybody, welcome back to week number 7 of Ash's Fantasy Facts here at sports.ktar.com. Through 6 weeks, I sure hope you're doing well in your fantasy leagues, and I hope I've been able to help out just a little bit. Last week we had a couple of hits. I loved Brandon Jacobs last week. For some reason, I just had a feeling he was going to get in the end zone a couple times. He did. 2 touchdowns. Not a ton of yards, but got you some points. And my dud of the week last week, Sean Hill, he didn't even finish the game. That's a dud in my book. Had a couple other hits as well. We had a nice week last week. Let's try to keep that going in week number 7. This is a big bye week. So I'm going to remind you guys that Detroit, Indianapolis, the New York Jets, and the Houston Texans all on a bye. Sit and think for a minute. That's a lot of fantasy players that aren't playing this week. Those are a lot of guys that will not be in your lineup. So make sure you're scouring the free agent wires or getting your backups ready and making sure they're ready to go. Hopefully some of your backups are about to get mentioned. Let's get right to it. Quarterback position. Maybe you have Peyton Manning. Maybe your backup's Joe Flacco. I don't know. I like Flacco this week a lot. A lot of people have Flacco as their number 1 starter. Go with them. Taking on Buffalo. Big week coming. Buffalo is awful, and Baltimore is ticked that they lost last week to New England. I love Joe Flacco this week. That's my main starter quarterback. I got a lot of quarterbacks I don't like. Tread lightly with these 3 guys. Tony Romo. I know it's a must-win for the Cowboys. They're at home taking on the New York Giants, but the G-Men have the second-best pass defense in the NFL. I think they maybe shut down Dallas, and who knows, maybe send Dallas to a 1-5 record. I'd shed a tear. Also, Chad Henne at home against Pittsburgh. Don't like that matchup. And I don't like the matchup for Donovan McNabb, Washington going to Chicago. I think Chicago upset themselves for the way they played last week against Seattle. Let's go to running back. Few running backs I really like. One is Noshawn Moreno. They're taking on the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders can't stop the run, period. The end. Broncos are ticked. They lost last week. They will not lose this week. They win, and I think Noshawn has a big game for the Broncos. Also, Jamal Charles or Thomas Jones, either Kansas City running back. I don't care. You can start both of them if you want. Nah, don't do that. But they are taking on Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a hot mess right now. So if you can play Jamal Charles, I look for big points. And Chris Ivory from Tiffin University. Where is that and who is he? He's the new starting running back for the New Orleans Saints. $158 last week against Tampa Bay. Look for him to do the same kind of damage this week against Cleveland. New Orleans got a little bit of the swagger back offensively last week, and that was good to see. Tread lightly at running back with Cedric Benson, the running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're on the road at Atlanta. I don't like that matchup for Cincinnati. And tread lightly with MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew. Now, again, I'm not a real big fan of Jacksonville right now. Don't bench him. Just know that he might not score you a boatload of points this week in that game because, believe it or not, Kansas City, 5th best rush defense in the NFL. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position. I really like Marcus Colston this week for the Saints. He has not been great this year. I know, I have him. Marcus Colston has one game of about 90 yards. Other than that, he's got 340 yards in 6 games. It's not a great average. He's not scoring a lot of fantasy points. I think his breakout game is coming this weekend against Cleveland. Cleveland's got an awful secondary. I look for Marcus Colston to get into the end zone. I think he has a big week. I also like Jeremy Maclin, wide receiver, the new number 1 in Philadelphia is Deshaun Jackson out with the head injury. So look for Maclin to step it up. Cobb's got to throw it to someone, and he likes hitting Maclin deep. My tread lightly's at wide receiver. Hines Ward, more on that in a moment. And I also think Miles Austin. I know he's one of the great wide receivers in the game. Didn't have a great week last week. Had a long touchdown called back. I look for him to struggle again against a good Giants defense. All right, it's time for my sleeper of the week. My sleeper of the week this week is Matt Castle, starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. So good, I have Peyton Manning in one league. I need a backup. I need a starter for this week. I went and picked up Matt Castle. I like Matt Castle at home this week, again against Jacksonville. I think Kansas City wins this game. They should have won last week. They've now lost 2 in a row. They'll get their swagger back and win. So Matt Castle, you need a quarterback. Not a bad guy. You can pick him up probably as a free agent. And now it's time for my dud of the week. And my dud of the week is Big Ben Roethlisberger. I liked him last week coming back for the first time. Had a good matchup, Cleveland. This time on the road in Miami, Boo Birds are going to be out. People are going to be saying things. It's not going to be a pleasant trip to South Beach for Ben Roethlisberger. Pittsburgh probably wins the game and beats Miami, but I don't look for Big Ben to have a huge week. That's it. That's how we do it. That's week 7 of Ash's Fantasy Facts here at sports.ktar.com. Questions, comments, concerns, send them my way. Ash@ktar.com is the email. Ash620 is the Twitter. And, of course, Facebook, Mark Asher. Don't forget, big bye weeks this week. Detroit, Indianapolis, the New York Jets, and the Houston Texans. Think about that when you're setting your lineup. Wish you the best of luck in week number 7 here on Ash's Fantasy Facts.
I got a feeling.